A man started a business with his wife. Things were going well until one day they got an offer they couldn't refuse. A big company offered to buy their business for a huge sum of money. They took the deal, sold the business, and retired. But the problem was, the man's ego got the best of him. He thought that he was done with business and would never work a day in his life again. He started spending all of his time playing golf, partying, and generally just living the good life. However, after a few years of this, his money started to dwindle. He had expenses and little streams of income here and there, but nothing major. He tried to get by with what he had, but eventually he was forced to sell his house and live in a small apartment. Even though he was down on his luck, the man still had his pride. He refused to work a normal job, even though he was desperate for money. He just couldn't bring himself to do it. One day, the man saw a billboard for a local golf tournament. It was being sponsored by a major company, the same company that bought his business years ago. On a whim, he decided to call them and see if they needed any help with the event. When he called, the person in charge was surprised to hear from him. The man explained his situation and asked if they could use some extra hands. The person in charge was actually the one who bought the man's business all those years ago. He felt bad for him and gave him a job as a security guard for the event. The man was hesitant at first, but he eventually agreed. On the day of the golf tournament, the man was in charge of making sure everything went smoothly. He directed traffic, made sure people were following the rules, and generally just kept an eye on things. It was hard work, but the man was proud of himself for doing something productive for once. At the end of the day, the person in charge came up to him and offered him a full-time job at the company. The man was shocked. He wasn't expecting that at all. But he accepted the offer and soon became a valuable member of the team. Within a few years, he was promoted to director of security and was in charge of all of the company's events. Although he had lost everything when his business failed, he didn't give up. And years later, he built something even greater. The man learned that failure is just another excuse to start over and try again.